Welcome to the first ever Called to Rise podcast interview. We are with Matt Crawford, my dad, and we're just going to have a casual conversation. My dad owned the pizza factory from 85 to 2015. Many rental properties. Him and my mom built up a great portfolio, did a lot of business stuff, and raised us 4 kids. And just want to dive into your story, where you started, just kind of start with why you chose to be your own boss, be an entrepreneur, and going, tackling that feat, back in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, I basically grew up around the entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, my grandpa Crawford owned a bar in Pana called Butter's Pub, and he was always an entrepreneur, and also my grandpa Lipe had a car business here in town and stuff for a long time, and he was an entrepreneur too, so I was kind of just brought up around that, I was brought up around working hard, paper routes, mowing yards. I mean, the whole nine when I was a kid. I mean, I started working for my grandpa whenever I was like 14 years old as the lot boy.
Yeah.
So, but go on.
So then what gave you, I mean, and obviously I grew up knowing the story about, like, especially Butter's Pub in Pana. And, that's obviously a proud picture we hang up at the Murillo Crawfords, is that blow-up picture that you got given to you. Gosh, I was probably in junior high when you got that picture. So that's really cool, and it's really cool that we had, we have the bar and everything now. How'd the opportunity to even buy the pizza factory come in 1985?
Well, I was married one time before your mother, and I was the lady that I was married to's mom owned the pizza factory, and she had it for a very few years. She had bought it from somebody, and then she wanted to move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So at the time, my wife and I then knew we weren't going to end up being together. So Paulette was kind enough to let me go, tried to get the money, tried to get a loan, and I went into Milliken Bank back then. It's a long time ago, but and the banker Gene Pride, he believed in me, and I had.
How old were you?
20.
20?
Yeah, I had $5,000, that I had saved up, and it's $25,000. So I, put the $5,000 down, and he gave me a loan, so. That's just cool. A matter of he believed in me.
Yeah. That's really cool. So then you met Mom through the pizza factory.
Yes, I did. Yes, like probably the first month I owned it or so, her sister Lisa came in and applied for a job, and she got a job there, and she was working there, a decent amount, and when she was home from college and whatnot, so. But then your mom came in, and Lisa had told me she wanted a job, but she came in. She worked at McDonald's then and stuff, so she had to have her a minimum 30 hours a week and stuff, and she negotiated the whole thing. But my friend John and I joke about it because we were sitting there at a table in the lobby, and when she walked in, I said, "You're hired." I mean, I said it to him. I said, "She's hired. You need to fill nothing out." So it was cool.
So, what was the hardest part of the early years? Because obviously the pizza factory was a newer business when you bought it, and it wasn't exactly busy all the time, and that wasn't your only source of income, right? The early years.
Yeah. Well, I worked at several Miles Chevrolet and Northtown Ford also at that time, and I was a car salesman, at both those places, and I did well there. So until the pizza factory got so busy, after like 3 or 4 years or 5 years or so, I then had to step back from the car sales stuff, and just devote it to that. But we did a lot of like advertising, using the kids, using you guys, you and Josh, and ads especially. Back then there's a thing called the Prairie Shopper. We'd buy the front page, but it just like kept taking off, and we gave really good specials too and stuff, you know. So, but it was just a matter of hard work and being there, 80 hours a week, and
Yeah.
not, and your mom being there too. Even when you guys were first born, she was there 80 hours a week. So
Right. What, I guess, was there any, like, the first, 5-10 years, were there any things that stood out that were, like, the hardest things,
well,
trying to build the business
yeah,
and being an entrepreneur and, because your mom got married shortly after
yeah,
she, started working there and, you guys had me right away, like,
right.
having kids and whatnot and trying to build the business at the same time.
Right. I mean, like in 1985, whenever I first bought it, I'd met your mom, and it took some time for us to decide we were going to, be together and be married and stuff. And at that point, though, once, like, we had you in 89, and we basically then, had Josh, like, right after, okay? And in the meantime, though, our lease on the business we were in, it was like on a 3-year lease. And the guy had always told us it would be no problem. We could lease it as long as we wanted to. So we had bought a new air conditioner for the building, paid for it ourselves, $1,000. And this is
Well, yeah,
a
the
decent amount
80s,
back
that's a
then.
lot. Yeah.
But so, like, man, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months later, he let us know that we had 30 days to leave. And there was no, like, other places in South Shores, And at that point, I went and talked to Jerry Gritton, the owner of Bonanza, back then in South Shores, and he set me up to talk to Buddy Melnick, which owned that shopping center there.
Mm-hmm.
And they all warned me, that, I mean, nothing's ever made it on the backside of the center, But on the backside of the center, there was a place that we could have the pizza factory. It was a lot bigger than we had before and stuff. So, I mean, I wanted to stay in South Shores,
Right?
I mean, because that's what that business, was created on. So, we took the leap and did that. I mean, and it was stressful doing all the building out, remodeling, all this kind of stuff. I had zero experience with that stuff. So, I put up my Corvette title for the loan to do it. At that point, So, but I mean, once we were open and stuff, and the city was great back then. They had a great mayor, Eric Brecknitz, and he phenomenal helping us get everything ready. So we only had to close. We had a wrecker come to the pizza factory to get our oven and take it to the new place right down the road.
Yeah.
Like actually, it's Billingsley Amico. They
just lifted it up and drove it down?
Got on a wrecker. I mean, literally, it was all pre-planned. That I was trying to figure out how we were going to do it, and they said, "Man, this is really the only way." You know what I mean? But he used a tow truck, and he got it on there. And we didn't. We had like 4 hours of a day that we weren't open.
Wow.
That's the only time that we weren't open. The rest of it was all moved, set up, going. All our inspections, like the mayor back then was amazing, and he made it to where they came out and did our inspections, So. I mean,
well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, heck, it took us over a week to move Maroa when we were closed for when we did that. But okay, so then you started also buying real estate in the late '80s, early '90s, right?
I mean, I bought the house on Meadow Terrace in 1985, or actually, I'd already owned it in 1983 before I ever got the pizza factory. But I had all the transactions finished with the lady's mom, with Paulette, and finalized that. And then she had an apartment complex in South Shores, and she said I could buy it, you know what I mean, but she needed like $30-some thousand down, and she could just carry the loan herself, you know what I mean?
Right.
And this is like back then, I think I paid $89,000 for it, But we went through, I mean, we just scrimped and scrimped for a long time and paid her back the down payment money, and we bought that apartment complex here. Now, that was in 1987 probably.
Okay.
We lived there like almost 2 years before you were born,
Oh, in the apartments?
Yeah, we moved from Meadow Terrace to the apartments to save money.
So you were renting out Meadow Terrace and then renting out the other 3 units?
Right, and saving money to where we could, pay.
So kind of like what they call now house hacking before it was really considered a thing.
Yeah.
You bought something so that way the other 3 units paid your bills, essentially.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We did a wraparound mortgage, which is pretty unheard of these days probably, but I mean, back then, that's how Paulette, because I had it insured, the way it's properly done and all that. I mean, we ended up paying the whole thing off, though, within like 5 years, and we had a lot longer than that to pay it off.
Yeah. So I guess take me through, I guess, the rest of the 90s, because, I mean, other than buying real estate, Pete's Factory is still in the same spot now from when you moved it in 87, you said, right?
No, I moved it in 91.
91.
Yeah.
So it's in the same spot since it's been since 91. You bought real estate and built up a portfolio there, and then obviously, you had Callie and Hannah in the late 90s, early, know. Did you ever want to expand in that time? Like, what held you back, I guess? Was it just because the family stuff, or?
I mean, we had the plans even made to build out the place where Guadalajara is right now. We had all the plans made and stuff at that point. We had aspirations of doing, that for sure. But like in the mid-90s, in that area right there, we were focused on family. And it came up, I had an opportunity to buy a home and this whole time we were still buying houses, what I mean? Going to auctions and buying houses. Back then you could buy them for, $4 or $5 grand, all the time.
Yeah.
But we basically had a time where we were trying to build stuff up, trying to make sure our family's okay, and a man who had owned a tavern here in town. It's all God in these stories, in general. I realize that now. But Elmer Sherman, he owned Sherman's, the building where Adam's Apple is and all that stuff. He had a house for sale, and it was like one of the first, is a 6-inch walls, first nice houses in Forsyth. You know what I mean? And he wanted $110,000 for it. So just to make him happy, because I was trying to buy the Adams Apple building and the other stuff, your mom and I went out and looked at it. And your mom was like, oh my goodness, you know what I mean? So it was like she didn't tell me, I want it. But you could tell she really did. And it was a beautiful home.
Ventura Drive house in Forsyth?
Yeah. And he too, and by this time the Pete's Factory is bringing in a lot more money between 90 and 93,
Right.
Well, no, between like 87 and 90. We bought that in like 91, I think, when Josh was born. But that house, he let me put down $10,000 and carried the paper, which back then, I mean, that was like...
Yeah, that's so rare now.
It is. And he gave me a good interest rate.
Most people that do that want 10%.
Well, he gave me a great interest rate, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I made the agreement to pay... The payment was $755, and I made the agreement to pay $5,000 extra a year on the principal. You know what I mean? And I did that, so that house was paid for in like 8 years or something like that. Which led to the moving to the Forsyth Parkway house.
Right.
Had over like half the money to put down on it. Just from that. So.
Yeah. So during any of this time, obviously like something that's big in my life, me and Hill's life, is fitness, working out, physical health, and whatnot. Was that ever, growing up, I remember you taking us to the Y sometimes and stuff like that, but was it ever something that was like a priority? I remember a lot of diets you and Mom went on and stuff like that, but was that,
the fitness was from the time I was like 13 years old, because I was a fat little kid, a gentleman I knew taught me a lot about weightlifting and fitness and stuff like that. So, I was into working out big time, like eating all the protein stuff, all the powders, all the, everything protein and all this kind of stuff. And I got really big doing that, So at that point, you know what I mean? It was a huge part of my life. I would go to the Decatur Health Club all the time. I would do, which is now RTB actually,
Right, because they moved it up to there,
Yeah. But I would go there all the time. And back then, I had a couple of years where I was technically single, So even though I had, mad, love for your mom, it wasn't quite reciprocated at the beginning. So no idea. I was in bad situations too. But either way you look at it, it all ended up working out, a beautiful way. But fitness was always, and then with your mom too. Fitness was a huge part of our life. She had treadmills. We started going to the Y, went to the Y all the time and stuff. And just you asked about like why we didn't expand and stuff. Like in the first part of 2000, or in the year 2000, your mother got diagnosed with breast cancer,
Right.
and it was like a 9 centimeter thing, but they said they got it all, and we thought she was going to be okay. But at that point, she had to do chemo, radiation, and all this, and I mean, we just decided we couldn't do it at that point.
Sure.
Do that
Sure.
as well
Yeah.
as her being sick. So. But after that, then she had like a few great years, you know what I mean, and stuff, and then it ended up coming back. So the stuff of expanding and all that kind of stuff went to the wayside. When I became addicted to the pain pills, and stuff while your mom was sick the second time. So I mean, all that kind of went to the wayside.
Well, I know that's a big part of your story is obviously like mom passing away when she was 42, because I was 20. And with Josh obviously being 19, Callie and Hannah being so young, and all that pressure being put on you, I guess, what all happened, or what do you feel like you had to, why did you have to go through so much tragedy, I guess, to find Jesus? Because I know now Jesus is, a huge part of your story, and it's, where you lean on now, but obviously like back then with everything going on, obviously you still had the pizza factory. It was busy. You had at that point probably 30 some rentals, probably 30 or 40 some rentals at that time. And obviously, everything, changed when mom got sick the second time. Yeah. And I guess kind of walk us through that. And, because obviously like sitting here today, we know how the story comes to today, at least, and it's positive and everything. Right. But, I guess kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Well, whenever she got sick the second time, they told us after like the first 3 or 4 months that it was terminal, and she would maybe have 6 months to live. She ended up living 13 months. But she always wanted to be like coherent of what was going on. I mean, up until the last night before she passed away, she knew who you guys were. She told us all she loved us and all that. So at that point, I like managed her pain medication and stuff like that too. And I started taking some of the Vicodins that she had, and I'm like, wow, I don't feel anything then. I don't feel the pain and the tragedy of the gravity of the situation, So I became addicted to those, and I was taking, 35 to 40 10 milligram Norcos a day. And I mean, I'm lucky to even be alive just for that reason, But after she passed away, I immersed myself in that, and I had delusions of grandeur that I was like smart enough and had enough money that I could buy myself out of anything, And that combined with the grief and the pills that I was taking, I just went on a very, a bad spiral in life's the best way to put it, I ended up, having several things that I made bad choices on, and bad choices have consequences, Now back then, I mean, in my mind, I had so much money, or I had so many ways I could get.
Well, right, yeah, that's I guess the picture I was trying to paint. Like for the person that doesn't know you or me or our story, your story, you were obviously a millionaire at the point of mom passing away, and you had a lot of assets, a lot of them paid off.
Most of
you
them,
had,
actually.
A nice big house in Forsyth. You had, material wise, you had all the stuff, and then obviously mom gets sick.
Right. I went to whenever between like 7th and 10th grade, I went to East Park Baptist Academy. I mean, my mom always had me in church and stuff, too, as I was growing up. I was saved. I was baptized, okay? I mean, and at East Park Academy, it was a great school. You know what I mean? I knew everything about the Bible. I knew all the scriptures, all this kind of stuff. But they never, back then, they never taught you to have a personal relationship with Jesus,
Right.
And literally, though, that's what changed, whenever I was towards the end of my addiction and stuff, it's like I figured out, and people planted seeds. and stuff, you know. Having the personal relationship with Jesus, if I would have had that to begin with, maybe some of this stuff wouldn't have happened. But also, I look at the fact now, too, that if I didn't have the things that happened, how could I help the people I'm helping now?
Right.
So God knew. God knew everything that's going to happen the whole time. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I obviously agree that everything happens for a reason and whatnot, but you know, obviously you had to go through a lot because this was, I mean, from the time of mom passing away to you coming clean in 2019. I mean, it was 9
8-9 years. Yeah.
Between 8 and 9 years.
Yes. I mean, I was addicted to the pain pills the whole time. It just got progressively worse, you know what I mean? Like when I would have to take 6 10-milligram Norcos to wake up in the morning.
Right.
I mean, and that's how, you know, that's how bad, how addictive opiates are, you know? And it's, I mean, it's just the fact that, I mean, you know, there's so many, it doesn't discriminate either, you know,
Sure.
between people. So, yeah, there's a good 9 years there, though, yes, you know. I was in La La Land.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously I can remember all of that or whatever, but I also, to a degree, distanced myself on purpose because of, you know, obviously I didn't agree with a lot of the decisions or whatever. But what, you know, I guess what started to, I mean, aside from, you know, because you were in and out of jail, you know, especially not all those 9 years, but the last 4 or 5 were
several times,
you know, because you went from obviously a lot of success and whatnot. And losing mom was kind of like the catalyst, I guess, that kind of spun you downward. But I mean, at one point you were homeless.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, living on the streets.
Yeah. In 2018, I would walk through Walmart at nighttime because they were open 24 hours then because I didn't have a place to go. You know, I mean, and that was like 2 or 3 times I did that. You know, I mean, you know, in general, yeah. I mean, I was homeless, and the fact is, though, I didn't really have any kind of a care, you know, whether I was alive or not.
Yeah.
And the only way to really put it, you know. I mean, I had a bad automobile accident like in 2012, and I almost killed a person, you know. And he's walking out. He's a FedEx driver, and literally, though, I mean, the gentleman, you know, I mean, I'm sure is, you know, better now and whatnot, but I mean, it's like you can never ever make up for something like that, period, you know. And it just added more, instead of doing what it should have did and brought me back to reality. Even they had an intervention, you know, at Betsy's house, you know what I mean. And I mean, I should have been, but no, Mark knew it all. Mark had money. Mark knew it all. Do whatever he wanted, you know. So I got involved in a terrible relationship with an individual that I never should have even been around and stuff. And I mean, you know, I mean, God's in the whole thing, though, because, I mean, no matter which way you look at it, you know, I'm transparent as can be about you could ask me any question about anything. I don't care when it is, how it is, why it is. I mean, and I have to be that way, though, because God kept me alive. When I got arrested that last time and got put in Macon County Jail, August 14th of 2019, I mean, my mugshot, I mean, I didn't care. And then when I was in jail that time, I met a couple of men, you know, and we all at the same time, you know, gave our life to Jesus and said, please take the desire for any drugs, or the desire for any booze, anything like that, away from us. And to this day, we're all 3 still clean. 6 years later.
That's awesome.
It's unreal, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't make it to year 6.
Never.
From that heavy of an addiction to making it to year 6, especially when you're taking, you know, 10 plus pills a day to probably a light day.
Wow, that would be not. I mean, after the first year or so, that was like that never happened. You know, I mean, I was going through $500-600 a day. Just buying pills. You know what I mean? So it adds up quick. You know what I mean? When you think of it,
but now, I mean, obviously you've been clean for 6 years, and for the last few years you've been doing a lot of positive things with your story and with what you've overcame, with CR and things like that. Talk about CR, talk about what that means to you, what it can do for the people out there that are struggling to beat addiction or to, just they don't even know where to start.
Right. I mean, basically, when I was in county jail, I was in a program called the Restore program that actually had just gotten started then. Like me and one of the other guys that I surrendered to Jesus with were the first couple people picked for it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that program, we met several people that were godly and just really took us under their wing and helped us like they said they were going to and stuff. And Troy, the one gentleman who I was in there with a lot in the Restore program, he was the leader of it back then. He made me promise to come to Celebrate Recovery the day I got released, or not the day I got released. Next time it was when there was only one Celebrating Recovery then in Decatur then.
Okay.
Now there's 6,
Wow.
But he made me promise, so I went to the Celebrate Recovery, and I mean, I was just like, it's a Christ-centered recovery, that has, they have a meal first, and they have a large group with songs and worship and all that kind of stuff, and, addicts can worship, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the small groups afterwards and stuff, so, but I got addicted to that and got in a step study, and the step study is like a transformative thing that truly, I mean, I've done 6 of them now, leading like several of them, but the one when I originally did, I mean, man, me and my mom's relationship was made way better, and I mean, I had to just understand, just to take responsibility for everything I'd done, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether somebody used my money or took my stuff, that's my fault, that's on me.
Right.
That's my fault that I put myself in those positions. I would, if I was them, I would have too. You know what I mean? At that point in my life, So, but you just have to just take responsibility in the Celebrate Recovery community. They call it a forever family, and it really is. It reaches a lot of people. So
yeah, and that's kind of what you do full time now, essentially, right? You sponsor multiple people.
Yeah.
You help lead a CR. You just helped get a new one started
a
few months ago,
yeah.
And you help lead that one, and you're doing a lot of great things with that. So I mean, we're all really proud of you for that stuff,
and I appreciate it,
and glad that you were able to make that pivot in life and whatnot, and be able to be around the grandkids and whatnot.
Right.
But kind of pivoting to more, going back to like leadership and being an entrepreneur and things like that. I mean, what are some like maybe advice or tips you would give, especially like somebody that's just starting out in their journey? Obviously I've been doing it since, I mean, I was essentially a kid trying to help run the pizza factory, and whatnot. But like some tips and advice that you could give somebody that's trying to dive into the business world, or just general leadership tips that you've learned from CR or when you ran the pizza factory for 30 years.
I mean, a wise person told me one time, love God, yourself, and your family in that order of importance. That person happens to be you, but it truly sings true to everything, you know what I mean? And that was probably 2 years before I got clean. But those things like that, I totally like understand and realize that that's the case. But loving God, having God first in your life, is the key thing. Also, I mean, having a good attorney and accountant, I mean, are amazing, parts of owning a business. I mean, and you got to understand too that, I mean, in business, you're going to have negative things come up. You're going to have struggles come. You know what I mean? Just don't give up and don't quit and push through them. I mean, shit happens.
Yeah.
That's the way it is, And I mean, you just got to push through them and keep that mindset, and keep praying and keep doing things, you know what I mean, to keep yourself moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
If it was easy, everyone would be a business owner. Everybody would create their own schedule. Everybody would do what they exactly want to do every single day.
Right.
But it's not easy and a lot of people don't understand that the people think, I want to get away from my 40-hour week job so I can run my own business and make my own schedule. But you're signing up for 80 or 100 hours a week to get it even going. And then once it's going, you might still have to do the 80 to 100 hours a week to keep it going for however long before you can find some good people to surround yourself with, some good people to be co-leaders with you and stuff like that. So, I mean, Absolutely. I think a big part for you was you had a great partner. You didn't have to go out and find a partner, a business partner per se. Your business partner was mom.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, she was with her by my side, there's nothing I couldn't do. You know what I mean? And she had this ability to always, even when things got bad or in trouble or whatever, she would always have a way to make me understand it's going to be okay, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other, like what are your kind of goals or mission as far as I know CR is your big thing? Is that just like, how are you trying to, I guess, grow in that, are you just trying to grow CR locally, or are you trying to get more people involved as leaders, or what, I guess, kind of?
I mean, all of the above, to a degree. I mean, I'm more like at the Celebrated Recovery now that we're leaders in. I do like go to the drug court and the mental health court and the courts and stuff. And as the people are getting put on these programs, we help them get into Celebrate Recovery, or they can get into whatever recovery they want,
Right.
But we just try to guide them and help them. And that's like a big group of people, you know what I mean? Those programs are great with the state and stuff, but if they don't work it, if they don't have people around them that can get them in the right place, it doesn't work as well. And Celebrate Recovery, is a huge thing. I mean, also, it's not just addiction and stuff too. I mean, people have other things in their life, hurts, habits, hang-ups, you know what I mean? And we try to do our best. I mean, Sarah's way better with other parts of it, you know what I mean? Like grief and things like this, and I mean, and abusive stuff, whatever the case is, I mean, she has a great heart for people in that. And I've been blessed with a great woman of God. I mean, my mission is to, be the best dad and grandpa that I, can be, and save as many people for Jesus as I can, I mean, help as many people in addiction, and help them get to the right rehabs.
Yeah.
Help them get to the right place. And I built up like a very large, connection group of
right.
rehabs.
Building a big
and
network
stuff.
like that isn't easy. But, I mean.
Well, it's actually just kind of like, it's kind of almost just happened as the more things go on, I meet more people, and really, there's a lot of, I mean, recovery is a way bigger deal now. When I first got into recovery 6 years ago, I bet there's at least 3 times as many people in it now. People are seeing, this meth, this pills, this fentanyl is killing people.
Yeah.
All over the place. 2 in the past couple of weeks. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's killing people. I mean, addiction is. People are seeing that, though. At least it's encouraging to have so many more people in it now.
Right. And there's obviously a ton of different addictions out there. It's not just drugs or alcohol, which is I think what CR kind of focuses on, right?
Well, they focus actually. CR is hurts, habits, and hang-ups. So
okay, so it's any
grief, drugs, alcohol, porn, sex addiction, eating addiction. That's a big thing. There's many different groups for each part of it.
Okay, well I think that's good to know. I mean, because
it's all Christ-based.
It was more of the alcohol and drug side, and I guess it's essentially any addiction that you're going
or any hurt. I mean, like I say, grief and stuff. I mean that's a hurt. You know what I mean? Anxiety. All kinds of stuff. Divorce. Anything like that. You know what I mean? A person goes through. I mean, your mind mentally, needs Jesus, and it needs to have people to connect with. That's the main thing.
A lot of people need the structure of like, this is how you deal with it.
Absolutely.
This is how you can navigate this situation without spiraling or relying on outside sources or outside substances to get you through it. And obviously we are designed to be in community with other people. We are designed, as humans by God to help each other and push each other and grow together and help each other through hard times. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with now is they're so quick to get themselves alone or just cut everybody out, thinking they can take care of it themselves. They don't need help or whatever. but that's what the enemy wants. They
Right.
want you alone. They want you by themselves, so that way they can attack. You're easier to attack if you're by yourself. I mean,
Right.
and
Exactly.
that's what happened to you. I mean, in the early years, I mean, you were secluding yourself.
Because I was ashamed of the things I
Right,
was doing.
right. But
That's
I
a lot
mean,
of
when
the
you were
reason
early in
that-
addiction, you were cutting us out.
Yeah,
Your family out,
absolutely.
your friends out. You didn't want to listen to anybody. You just thought you would you would go through it yourself.
I
And
had a
that's-
love for money, and I had a love for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a lot of what God was, teaching me too. That I mean, none of the things that I was blessed with my whole life, and it took me until 6 years ago to realize a lot of this stuff. But God was there the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, giving me your mom, us having amazing kids, I mean, he was there the whole time. And then whenever I got ready, basically that, 6 years ago, when I got on my knees and prayed for God, to take the drugs away from me and the addiction away from me, he had been there the whole time.
Right.
I just had to surrender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's sometimes the hardest part for people.
it can be,
is
yeah.
to acknowledge they can't do it themselves.
I mean, Celebrate Recovery is based on the 8 Beatitudes too,
Mm-hmm.
and there's verses and stuff that go with each part of it. But, the Apostle Paul says, I can't remember the exact scripture, but that you try to do something, do the right things, and do things that are good, but you can't carry it out, And that's how so many people are that, are in addiction. And then they have shame. And then, like you said, they isolate.
Yeah.
And isolation is the worst, the worst thing, for anything you're dealing with, mentally.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a big motivation for doing this podcast for me is Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one
Amen.
friend sharpens another.
that's right.
That's a big motivation for me is, I have some life experiences. I've had some success. I mean, I don't ever try to tote it because I give it all the credit is to God, and I wouldn't have it without God and, Hill to help me. So,
Right.
but using the, experiences and knowledge that I've gained to hopefully help people, whether it's in a business sense, a spiritual sense, whatever, I guess that's kind of one of the goals of even doing this podcast and whatnot. So
Yeah.
what, since we're going to be wrapping up, what are something I think I'm going to ask every guest is do you have like a book or two that you recommend to somebody, business-wise or anything that, helped you during your entrepreneurial journey or now, or do you have like a favorite podcast or what, some resources to help, that people would maybe, I'm a big fan of, picking up and actually physically reading a book. Some people prefer to listen to it, whatever, but
I mean, whenever I was younger, like before I actually, as I was growing up, I mean, when I turned like 18 or so, I was going through a bad time in a relationship. So I read a book by an autobiography of Lee Iacocca. And he had, I know this is a long time ago, but he brought Chrysler back from the dead. And his autobiography, though, man, it's moving. It's really, really good. And that helped me. And then somebody told me to read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was younger.
yeah.
And that book, I mean, it just set a stage for so many different things in my life that I used for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, letting other people pay for your stuff, you know what I mean, in general. And I know, and Ed Milet's podcast is great. So is that book, The Power of One More.
Yeah.
His book.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've read that. I can't even tell you how many times I've read that book,
Yeah.
And then, like, whenever I was going through a lot of my struggles, and I was, like, in county jail or wherever I was at, I read a lot of Max Lucado books and Mark Batterson books. And those books, I mean, still to this day, I listen to their podcasts, you know what I mean? And to this day, I, like, put into practice the things, in their book. And when you're in a dark place, I didn't really have other stuff to do, you know what I mean, besides read.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the Bible back and forth several times too, But, I mean, it's more the fact of reading those books actually increased my faith and made me realize, hey, there's nothing that somebody's done that God's grace won't forgive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
I mean,
awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Dad. I appreciate you help me out, especially on the first one, and sharing your story, giving us, all the details. So hopefully this will get shared and help other people.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to Hill for pushing me to do this, and a big shout out to Chapman, Shane Felt, my brother-in-law. He's the producer and helping us with the podcast. Couldn't do it without him, so really appreciate it. And everybody, we'll probably put some links in with connections for CR, some stuff like that in the bio and whatnot. So that way, if anybody has anything they want to reach out about,
if somebody needs help, they can. There's people that want to help.
Right. Reach out and whatnot, and I'm sure you're a resource, obviously, as well. And if there's anything else that you guys need, message, comment, give us ideas, guest ideas, whatever. We'll definitely do our best to try and, grow the podcast and reach out to other people. And
well, thank you for having me too. I love you and proud of you.
Thank you.
Obviously.
And like I said, this was great. I even learned, stuff that I didn't even know, and just appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thanks a lot, everyone.